Hey, everybody. Welcome to Two Comic Book Dudes. I'm Aaron, editor-in-chief of Comic Booked.
Hey everybody, Justin, managing editor of the comic book.
And joining us today, I guess it depends on which side of the globe you're on, is Damian Simancowicz. He is the creator of Sage Escape, and we're going to talk about the newest issue, Sage Escape Equinox #3. And then we're also going to talk about the series overall and plans for the character. So thanks for joining us, Damian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So if you would go ahead and just start off and let's talk a little bit about where did you come up with the idea for Sage Escape? Give us a little background on Sage and kind of what do people need to know going into this book other than, pick up the previous issues.
All right. Well, if it's okay, I'll start with just the general premise or concept of Sage Escape, and then we can kind of expand out from there, just so people sort of can get oriented as to what it is. So it's a science fiction set in the future, and the basic concept is that there is a military provider called Friendly Corp, and in the future they provide all of the military armaments and solutions to humanity. So humanity is spread out across the universe, and it's a point where we've kind of been accepted by the Alien Council, the Multidimensional Council. So they've said, yep, humanity's A-okay, let them spread out and take these different regions. So we've somewhat colonized the universe. And in doing so, humanity has taken their belief systems with them. And unfortunately, we've continued to war amongst ourselves and have infighting. So Friendly Corp sell armaments for people to basically kill each other to protect their section of the universe. Part of that is they have the ultimate soldier, which is a thing called a salesman assassin. And these are people that the company has bought the rights to use, and they replace their innards with cybernetics. So they're a very high-powered, very obedient killer that can link up their minds. So the more salesman assassins you get into a war zone, the more competent they are. So it's very good business for Friendly Corp, because they can say, look, get more salesman assassins, you can protect your territory even better. So where this all leads is to a point where the corporation realizes, look, we've got so many salesman assassins out in these different regions. We've pretty much taken all the land we can in our own solar system and nearby neighborhoods. You know what? There's not a lot of laws governing out there. What we can do is start getting our salesman assassins that are on the ground to start killing off these different colonies of humanity and taking their property. And because we have enough control over the media, that information won't get back to Earth and it won't get out to the Multidimensional Council. And because we're not attacking alien races, it's all within the laws of humanity. So that's the back premise of it. Now, where we come into the story is that there's one slaughter or massacre where a girl escaped, a girl in her late teens, and that's Sage. That's the main character of the story. And when we meet her in the first story, Escape from Earth, she's just been upgraded and she's become a salesman assassin. And in doing so, she wages a war back on Friendly Corp to protect humanity. So in a nutshell, you got two sides. You've got the one side that is just advance, conquer, and destroy. And then you've got the other side, which is Sage, who came from a cyber village called Natura. And they embraced a lot of philosophy of protecting nature, respecting life, finding ways to get technology to balance with nature. And they succeeded within that. So she's got a very ecological, peaceful perspective. And then having the cybernetics gives her the ability to, I guess, play a much larger game and actually go on the proactive and attack. I'm just going to adjust my settings, guys, because my computer was just trying to shut down its screen because I haven't moved the mouse around for a while.
Okay.
Actually, no, I won't do that. I'll just keep it in the mouse. So that's it in a nutshell. Does that cover the basics?
Okay. Yeah. It's
Okay.
interesting because I know I've read everything so far, and of course in the third issue of this current series. And Sage is a very interesting character because you do have that, she was a young girl, her village was destroyed around her, she escaped with the help of some certain people or aliens, and then through her different interactions and really over the span of what's it been, several 30-40 years, I think, for between the beginning and the newest issue.
Yeah, there's a big gap of decades in the middle there. Actually, we jump. We meet her when she would have been 18 when she was first in the cyber village, and then she's converted, and then there's a gap. There's about a 9-year gap to
Where she's suspended
to Equinox. Yeah, where
Oh, no.
she's in
Right.
the space pod, and because of the effects of gravity, it affects the aging process, the amount of time you experience, and being in suspended animation, she only ages a few months, where the rest of the world surpasses
Right.
9 years. So
Mhm.
I guess that's the one thing we should flag up front to anybody who may or may not have read the series. We're probably going to have some spoilers in this because there's no way to really
That's right.
discuss the plot of Sage Escape without actually landing some major spoilers. It's a fairly involved plot, so spoilers ahead. I might just flag it when it comes to it and say we're just going to spoil something now, and then we can go ahead.
Yep, sounds good. Well, and
All right.
regardless, we'll see what happens anyway, because we have a kind of a planned reset here, right? In a way.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
we'll
we'll try and go ahead. I'll try and not do that on you guys. I'm just going to pull up the system setting out. Thought that would pop up. Oh,
Yep.
cool! You guys can see that. That's good. All right, good. I'm just
So
gonna...
we have a lot of different characters in this, and it's one of the things. One of my first reviews had the image with some of the main characters in it, which is a really good reference point. And I'll send when I do the article that this video will set in, I'll do links back to those other articles so that people can click back and see other things that happened in the past of this storyline,
Cool.
and they can still pick up previous issues, right, if they want to pick those up.
Yeah, absolutely. The Mars Gambit miniseries, which was the first miniseries, on Comixology, that's down to 99 cents per issue at the moment.
Okay.
They'll go back up after a while, so it's pretty inexpensive to check out the previous issues, and the new issues are only $2.99. So, yeah.
Nice.
Okay, and it's great stuff. I mean, it's not a little skimpy book. It's definitely a full book. A very intriguing story I found from the start to finish. So,
Excellent.
but
Excellent.
we have some big main characters that you kind of wanted to talk about, Imogen Cray and Grimm, who play. Grimm is kind of here and there, I feel like, through the first couple series, but then he's definitely had a bigger presence now. And Imogen kind of came in really in the Mars Gambit, but we really hadn't seen much of her in the first series. So, and has definitely made her presence known in an explosive way in Sage Escape Equinox. So,
absolutely. Yeah, the characters are interesting because Sage Escape's following sort of a classic storytelling style. And the first 3 miniseries form an arc. It's sort of like the first story arc and the first arc of the character of Sage. So in that, like Mars Gambit, sort of that first section where you're just starting to meet, allies and enemies. And it's really sort of that second mid-story, which is Equinox, where you start to explore sort of the different world, or the strange world, which in Sage Escape is the actual conflict, the actual battles with the salesman assassins, just how good they are, and how hopelessly prepared humanity is to actually confront or deal with the salesman assassins. So being that that's the type of story we're telling, a lot of times there's characters in the backgrounds and there's subplots going on that aren't really referenced. They're just kind of there doing their own thing, and then we pick up their threads later on. So I guess Grimm's one of the most interesting characters in that, and this is a major spoiler, but we're just going to have to go with it. As we discovered in the 3rd issue of Equinox 3, his plotline is moving back through time at key steps, while the rest of the cast are primarily moving forward in time. So when we first see him in Mars Gambit, which would be Mars Gambit 2, he knows Sage. He's lived through those events with Sage. He's lived through Equinox, and he's back in time waiting for her to be there to basically start their mission on what his agenda is. So with Equinox, we're really seeing very close to his point of origin. We're getting close to where his technology is developed, where his body would be developed, and why he is so adamant that something has to change with the way Friendly Corp is. So he's been a character that's just been popping in the background, and all the way through Equinox, if you go back and look at 1 and 2, whenever he's referencing Sage from the point of view of her alien allies, because that version of Grimm, he's never met Sage yet. So structures and that's where the complexity comes in. So you're following sort of a path forward with Sage, but then you've got Grimm coming back at different key times. And from his perspective, he's traveling in a different direction.
Okay, very cool. And definitely his technology plays a big part in the overall Equinox storyline, but especially in kind of the resolution in issue 3, which we won't spoil too much for issue 3 because there's a lot of things that happen. We can kind of spoil 1 and 2 since they came out already. The fact that everybody blew up.
Yeah.
that was a huge thing. I'm like, what?
They
killed everybody off.
Yeah, true story.
That was very interesting. As I read the end of issue 2, I remember, and I was just like, "Where are you going to go from here?
Hmm.
Humanity's just been blown to smithereens, you know."
Yep. Yep.
But I like the path that Equinox #3 takes. That it's interesting enough to kind of know what's going to happen, but then not know all the ramifications of it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it. That's it. And we're in an interesting place too because, um, in that classic, going back to sort of the hero's journey analysis, your hero learns along the way, then picks up tools and information to be able to actually become a hero. And if you look at Sage at the start, she's really very raw and very much a blank slate. She only has memory of the massacre, and she has her military skills to take action and the impulse to take action against Friendly Corp. She doesn't have any memory of from the massacre to becoming a salesman assassin. There's that gap there. So she's kind of retrospectively putting together who her allies are, and that's really sort of the Equinox phase. Is she actually meets the aliens that have been keeping an eye out on her and have taken intervention at key points. And again, they know her and she doesn't know them. So by the time we get to the next mini-series, Transhuman, she's already identified, right, I can trust you, I can't trust this person, I have this knowledge, and also she's armed up with all technological and military knowledge to enable her to sort of step up and actually become the hero character. There's a massive, learning journey for her in the first 2 mini-series.
and that technology too. So her memory issues are really more a factor of the technology, right? Because she can remove and replace parts of her mind
Yeah,
in a way, which I really thought that concept was cool.
Mhm.
definitely. And sorry.
No, go ahead. If you would talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's something, I, I, this is the first point I've had a chance to breathe. I've been on doing the series for 3 years now. And I'm actually going to go back and release the first issue that was released back at Supernova back in 2012, because it actually has all of that establishing Sage in the Bionetic Web, the download coming in, her swapping out the sections of her brain. And for anybody out there that doesn't know the series, Sage has, as part of being converted into a salesman assassin, she's the new prototype for the current model, and they can actually, half of the brain's been replaced with cybernetics, and they can click out a piece like a quarter of a sphere, and so they have a box that has this sphere in it of a cybernetic brain, and every quarter has a different program on it. So she has a mindset called Obliteration Mind, and when she needs to go on the hunt or track down information or prepare to kill somebody, she clicks in Obliteration Mind. And so she's still there, but it's interacting with her in a way that now sort of the Friendly Corp side of her takes over, and she becomes a very effective killer. When a salesman assassin is first activated, especially her generation, they're not real good with interacting with humans. So if it's just a regular interaction and they're meant to just camouflage and they're not on a mission to kill, they'll have to click out their brain and put in a section of brain called Empathy Mind. So they get back their more normal behavior. So Sage basically doesn't know what the second half of her mind does, and it's never been commented upon in the comic yet, because her level of salesman assassin is designed not to think too much about their programming, not to think too much about their brain. They're designed to go and do their mission and complete their mission. So she's on a mission her mission is to stop Friendly Corps. That's what she does. Her memory's on one section of those brains. She's not aware of it because no one's informed her of that. She didn't stick around with Friendly Corps. She just got the hell out of there. And so that's one of the threads that we're just leaving quiet. And there's a whole bunch of quiet stuff in Sage Escape. Like there's aliens that are walking through the backgrounds of all the issues. Can I talk about the final word briefly?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, cool.
He really doesn't show up much in this issue, but he has a pretty important role. I mean, definitely.
Yeah, that's right. He's kind of like the Where's Wally of Sage Escape. He's always around, but you might not spot him the first time reading through. So there's a bunch of aliens in Sage Escape, and one of them takes the guise of a tall, blonde-haired man with an antiquated suit with glasses, and he's known as the Final Word. And the Final Word has been shaping humanity's history for a while. So you'll see him just popping through the backgrounds and walking through walls. And we actually, in Equinox, you actually see him take out some key players so he can influence the direction of events. So he's one of the characters that's just kind of always there but not there. And then as we ramp up, we see more of him. And we actually started to see in Equinox his relationship with Imogen Cray and his relationship with Friendly Corp, how he's also not just concerned about the flow of events of humanity, but how that relates with other alien cultures. And then in Transhuman, the next miniseries, we actually see the formation. We see exactly how it works with Friendly Corp and exactly what his agenda is. So yeah, it's bit by bit building up to it.
Cool. Yeah, he was really the key player in Equinox 2, because without him, I mean, they never would have been able to blow everybody up. I mean, that was the thing. Like, he's like, oh, you need this done? Bloop, it's done. Okay. Wow,
exactly.
Really?
Yeah, he's holding back to those points where it's a make or break whether they could actually take out a certain person that would have influence politically or, on the warfare. And then, and we learn about what he gets, what his payoff for that is, and in time, and why he's going in the direction that he's going.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. All right. Let's see. What else do we have we want to talk about? Okay, so go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Damian's kind of touched on the second question, or the next question that you wanted to ask about the story and how much was left. Did you name the next series? Was it Transhuman?
Oh yeah. So Transhuman is the next three-parter, which sort of finishes the first arc. There's quite a bit of story with Sage Escape. In terms of how much is left, there's quite a bit left. So I guess that leads me to, at some point, I would like to. At the moment, I'm averaging about 3 issues per year because it just takes so long to do. I mean, I'm doing the pencils, the inks, the colors. Myself as one person. At some point, I would like to get in an artist team, probably someone to do pencils and inks and someone to do the coloring, and get it up to 6 to 12 issues per year. At some point, I'd like to get into print as well, so we've got that sort of flow through of 1 month the print goes out, and you're developing the next one, and on and so forth. So there's quite a bit, but this first arc that sort of sets up all the major characters and players and themes, that completes with Transhuman, which will be coming out next year.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I want to see how this all wraps up. Definitely.
Me too. Because I've been living with it since 2012, and I'm like, I just want to finish it. And it's interesting because you read reviews, and there's some people like I think Dan Ashley got it from the get-go. He'd read a lot of Death's Head 2, and he knew all the big sci-fi like the Terminator films, and knew all the smaller stuff like Trances or Future Cops, they call it in Australia. And so he in his head could plot where this was going. And then some other reviewers don't sort of, I guess, know that type of sci-fi, and you can see them not really getting it. And as a writer, you kind of want to get on there and go, this is what this means, this is what this means. It's like, no, be quiet, sit back. It's going to take a few years, let the story play out, and just deliver it, and go from there.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned Trancers. That's I love those movies.
I love Trancers. Jack Death, man. Just some of those.
I saw they're actually releasing a comic series. Can't remember who's putting it out, but Action Lab maybe. So yeah,
I think you're right. I've seen some of the cover art online. It looks great. Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see Jack Death back in action.
Yeah, definitely.
Pretty cool. Well, let's talk about kind of your involvement in comics and how did you get started? What the one thing we always ask is, what is your? Oh, I'm sorry, Justin. This is your question every time. Go ahead.
No, it doesn't matter. We always ask, like, what was the book like? Either what was your first comic, or what was the comic that you got that you were like, okay, now I want to be a part of this world. Like, this is something for me.
Good question. I like that. Okay, there's a twofold answer. The first part is my dad was a massive DC fan, so we always had piles of Superman, Batman, and then other characters that would interact with Superman, say Wonder Woman, and what have you. So from a very early age, in Australia as well, back in the 80s, they would release the comics from DC, but without the color, and just printed on black and white paper. So you would actually just see the line art. And seeing that consistently, I actually fell in love with it. I actually got a bunch of the original black and white prints, so you could see it without the color, and I would sit there and mimic superhero art. So my first type of drawing style was imitation superhero art, which is ironic because that's completely different from Sage Escape, where I don't use superhero bone structures or proportions. You don't have the long neck and very muscular, broad shoulders. It's more like a real body that's taken steroids, and when you see people doing that, they just get bigger and bigger and thicker and thicker. And that's how the Cells and Assassins are. So definitely imitating original comics from DC, but then I moved over to Marvel because they did a lot of horror in the 90s. You had like your Morbius and your Blade and Midnight Suns. The Night Stalkers, that wonderful arc where they all crossed over with everybody. I've still got them in a box too. Loved all of that. Went back and got the early Ghost Riders. I stopped when Ghost Rider started wearing yellow and orange because it didn't make any sense. But
I
forgive
did
me for
too.
that. Come on, yeah. I think
It was
most of us
awful.
did. We kind of went, "That's not Ghost Rider anymore." Oh man, major influence by Marvel UK. Loved Death's Head by Simon Furman.
Yeah.
Loved Death's Head 2. Like,
Yeah.
do you remember that where you had the partner Tuck and yeah, so it was a big blue cyborg with like
Yep.
dreads and stuff. Major influence. Used to sit there for hours at school drawing when I should have been doing schoolwork, which then gets you into Dark Horse. I picked up oh man, have you guys read the Aliens book one, the black and white first ever?
Yes.
Oh, it's one of my favorite graphic novels.
I have the platinum edition they did that was actually colored.
Nice. I saw that too. Yeah.
Really neat.
So good. That storytelling was so good. So I'd buy everything. The the Evil Dead adaptions of Army of Darkness and the Thing 2-parter they did, which is a sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing.
Right.
Amazing. So, I've just got boxes and boxes of that stuff. But to answer your question about what got me into Sage Escape is all right. I don't know if this is just showing up. Transformers.
Oh yeah.
Within. This is the best comic book miniseries ever. I'd never seen art done that way before. It was just so much more colorful. The shadow work, the light work, major influence. Also loved War Within, Dark Ages. Just reset the standard. So that actually got me buying comics again, and that branched out into just other modern stuff and going back to seeing what they were doing with Ghost Rider now that they'd reintroduced Johnny Blaze and going back to the traditional look of the character and stuff like that. So, and actually, people I know say that Sage Escape is probably modeled off War Within, and I never realized that until a couple of my friends said, look, that you've taken some tips with that in terms of pushing the shadows down dark so you can have highlights and glows and metallic stuff pop off with your cybernetic life forms with eyes glowing and stuff like that. And looking back, I think that was the start of that journey, which is still evolving, by the way. You're always trying to push the artwork better, and I think each issue does get better, and certainly like at the moment I'm going back to Escape from Earth, the first one which we're going to re-release. I'm redoing all the colors in that from scratch. I'm recutting in all the flats, and I'm doing every single bit of color. But because now I've got, like when I started I had a couple of brushes, digital brushes that you got with X manual or whatever. Now I've got 40 brushes that I created from scratch, and it responds the way I like it to respond, and I can paint the face shapes the way I want, and it's so much better. So really that's the influence, that's the series.
That's cool. I've definitely noticed an improvement. I mean, that first series, I think when I first got it, I was like, okay, this is pretty rough. But the newest series, especially Equinox, is just beautiful. And as soon as you mentioned that, I remember when IDW first kicked off, the whole Transformers run, I picked everything up from them. And they had a couple other comics that came out that were just beautifully done, very three-dimensional, a lot of really cool shading and coloring and the shininess. I picked up a series and I can't remember what it's called, but it was all these people that had like gray metal bodies with a face. And it was just so cool looking. Fully 3D, but I love that type of art is just amazing. So
it's like it's risen to a whole other level, and it does unfortunately slow you down in post because the files become massive. Like a lot of those, the pages for Sage Escape Equinox are 1 gig, and you've got your iTunes on while you're painting. It freezes up. You get the magic ball of death, and you're like, no. I had to upgrade my Photoshop because Photoshop 5 didn't work with the current Mac OS, and it would freeze and delete files when I was painting Equinox 2. So I'm like, that's it. I'm going to have to upgrade. And so I upgraded, and suddenly it worked fine. But still, it's painting Sage Escape does freeze it up. But having said that, I love having the real backgrounds. Like I know some series of a traditional, which is also beautiful, and they'll just sometimes just do like a swirl behind a character, and that's their background, and that's cool. That's that style. It has the very sort of hand drawn, almost shaky sort of element to it, and that's a style to itself, and that's awesome. But it's not what we're going for with Sage Escape. I'm trying to get the environments more and more realistic, and always get a real sense that when you walk into a room or a spaceship, it's a specific spaceship. When you go into a different spaceship, it's going to have different color, different carpet, different walls, different graphics on the screen, stuff like that. So definitely influenced by modern IDW as well. Like a lot of great stuff.
Awesome. All right, so we're talking about Sage Escape Equinox #3, which is out just last week was the release date. So that's available on Comixology, and we'll have some links to that in both the description for the video and the information that I put into the article that this video will be nested in. So I'll also have links for you to be able to go back and get any of the previous issues. links for you to be able to see my previous reviews and interviews with Damian, and anything else I can think of, I'll throw in that article as well. So,
Awesome.
anything else you want to talk about? Oh, Justin, go ahead.
I was just going to say, where can fans reach out to you? Like the Sagescape, you have a Facebook page, or you want to like promote all that? Your Twitter?
Yeah, we've got the website, sagescape.com. We've got Facebook, which is just type in Sage Escape, that'll pop up. We recently started a Instagram account as well, so we're posting on that, which is just Sage Escape. You can also come over and see my art. Oh, what's that?
I'm going to go look
cool.
at the Instagram page right now.
Please do. Very cool. And I've also just started a Facebook page and Instagram and DeviantArt for myself, because I realized that I spend a lot of time creating projects, but I don't really actually put myself out online. And in fact, Aaron, you had to harass me to do this interview, and I'm really glad that you did, because it took me out of the bat cave of making stuff and actually connecting with people, which is awesome. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time and talking with us. I'm glad we could get some more information out there. One of our big goals here at Comic Book is really to promote artists and creators on the independent scene, because if it weren't for the independent comics, I just don't think comics in general right now would be where they are. There's just been so many great stories out there that if we weren't pushing them, people wouldn't know. So
very true, and we definitely appreciate it. Us, creators out there, we love what you guys are doing. We're very impressed by it. So it's a wonderful format that you've got. Good things.
Great, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Like I said, I'll have some information in the description for the video and information in the article to lead you all around. Follow the breadcrumbs to find Sage Escape, to find them on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else. And please leave comments if you've got questions for us, questions for Damian, questions about the books. Let us know. We'll make sure he gets them and we get answers back to you. Please like, share, subscribe. We definitely appreciate that. And stay tuned for more interviews and other stuff throughout the week. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.